Okay, so expressing as a percentage. First things first, if you've got a question like this, what is 50p as a percentage of £2.50? The first thing you need to do is look and think, how am I going to get the units the same? So you can change them both to pennies or both to pounds. We'll do both ways. 50p out of 250p is the same as 5 over 25 if we divide top and bottom by 10. And if we then divide by 5, top and bottom, it's the same as 1 over 5. That's in a fraction, so it could be a fraction question, or as a percentage, we could have got there straight away, times by 20, 20 out of 100, 20%. Similarly, you could have done it the other way if you left it as pounds, so that would just be 0.50 over 2.5. If we times that by 2 to get rid of the decimal on the denominator, that would be £5, and that would be £1, which is the same method, times by 20, get the same answer, 20%. Okay, so multipliers for percentage increase and decrease. We'll start off with increase. So if you've got an item, and let's say if you've got an item for £200 and you want to add an increase of 10%. Now, obviously the non-calculator method and the easy method would just be find 10% and add it on, but we just want to look at a method of multiplier. So if £200 is the 100% price, we want to add on 10%. That means the actual item is 110%. Now, percentage is out of 100, so 110 out of 100 means we can change this using our place value understanding, because that's also the same as 110 divided by 100, and that is going to give us 1.1. What that means is that if we want a multiplier for a 10% increase, we would just times by 1.1. Now, that will work on any question. If we think about increasing something by 20%, so a 20% increase, we would have the same starting position. The item would be worth 100% to begin with. If we add on 20%, it would mean we've got 120%. After a while, these next stages you can do in your head. That's the same as 120 out of 100, which is 1.2. So for a 20% increase, it would be 1.2. Now, a 5% increase, if we were going to go up 5%, would be 100% plus 5%, which would be 105%. That's 105 out of 100, and just be careful with the place value on that one. 105 divided by 100 would make it 1.05. So that would be your multiplier. Okay, we'll have a look at decrease using the same method. So decreasing. If you've got an item and you want to decrease 10%, the starting position would be 100%. You'd take off 10%, which means you'd be left with only 90%. 90% is 90 per 100, and 90 divided by 100 is 0.9. Okay, so if you wanted to decrease, let's say, an item by 27%, so take off 27% from an item, what multiplier would you use? 100%, subtract 27%, would leave you with 73%, and 73 per 100 out of 100 is 0.73 if you divide it. So 0.73 would reduce an item by 27%. Okay, so percentage change. Kept the question quite easy so we can see the method more so, but remember in the exam there's nothing wrong with if you can just see it, write the answer down. Okay, so if we look at the question, an item was £20 and it's now 22, what is the percentage change? So 20, thinking about the multiplier now, 20 has been times by something and it's now 22. So this is just using your inverse operation, something, and if we want to inverse 20 times, so we're going to divide by 20, it's a bit of balance, divide by 20, that's going to give you 22 divided by 20. Now if it's on a calculator you could quickly pop that in, but if it's not, use equivalent fractions. That's the same as 11 over 10 if you divide by 2, and then that's the same using your place value understanding. 11 divided by 10 is 1.1. So the question mark is 1.1. Now you need to tell yourself, what do I know about a 1.1 multiplier? That is making a 10% increase. So that is option 1. I'd highly recommend that method myself, but it's up to you. But option number 2 is actually thinking about the percentage change as a fraction. So it's gone from £20 to 22, which makes a £2 increase. And if you want to write it as a fraction, it's got to be a fraction of the original amount. So it's £20 it was originally. So if you want to change that into an equivalent fraction, divide by 2, it's 1 out of 10. But if you want to change it to percentage, times by 10 to make it 10 out of 100. Still proving the same 10% increase. Whichever method you are using though, remember these kind of questions are usually worth about 2 to 3 marks, so it is worth checking your answer. Does it make logical sense? So our answer is 10% increase, so if we start with £20, which is why I said somebody could spot it in the first place, and we find 10%, divide by 10 is £2, and we can see it has been increased by £2. So always check your answers. Okay then, and then finally looking at a decrease question now. If we've got a car that's been bought for £1,600, that was how much it was originally, so we've got £1,600 and it's now worth £960, so it's been times by something and it's now worth £960. That'll be your layout to get you thinking. We need to work out what the multiplier is, so it's the inverse operation, so it's going to be 960 divided by 1,600. Okay, so if it's a calculator question, you just type that in and that would get you 0.6. Now, that doesn't mean that you've got your answer. You need to tell yourself, what is a 0.6 multiplier? A 0.6 multiplier means a reduction, so a decrease of 40%. That's one option. If it was non-calculator, then obviously you would just have to be patient. Use equivalent fractions, 960 over 1,600, divide by 10, top and bottom is 96 over 160. Half it to make the numbers easier, so that's over 80, and that's going to give you 48. Half it again, it's going to give you over 40 this time, it's going to give you 24, and then half it again, it's going to give you 12 over 20. It's up to you, you can take it up to 100 then, times by 5, and that's going to take it to 100 for your percentage per 100, times by 5 makes it 60 out of 100, and 60 out of 100 is going to show that you have decreased by 40% also. And if you do prefer the other method still, you just need to think about what is the difference between 1,600 and 960 first of all. You would have to carry out a subtraction for that to work out it's a difference of 640. So it's a difference of, if you write it as a fraction, 640 out of the original 1,600. Remember, this will give you your answer straight away as a percentage if you can simplify it. So 64 out of 160 if you divide by 10, follow the same process as before. It's going to be 80 over 32, 40 and that's going to be 16, 8 over 20, and then 40 out of 100. So showing you again, it's still going to be a 40% decrease.